Good afternoon and hello, everyone. My name is Rich Longo, Flycast Partners, and I'd like to thank you for joining us for another Flycast Partners webinar. Today's presentation is being presented by none other than Kyle Hamilton. And Kyle is going to talk about Ivanti Endpoint Manager today. Kyle is an experienced pre-sales senior solutions consultant with extensive experience in collaborating with clients on IT strategies. He's been in the IT industry for well over 20 years, I think way more than that actually, and has experience in a variety of IT tools and publishers ranging from IT service management, IT asset management, and IT operations management. He has experience from multiple types of positions in the industry, allowing him to have the bigger picture in mind when he's helping an organization out with their IT needs. Before we get started, Kyle, let me go ahead and introduce Flycast Partners. Flycast Partners has been here to serve over the last almost 10 years now with a group of folks that have a combined experience of over 100 years in the IT space. They've taken all these collective experiences together and utilized that to create one of the largest value-added resellers in the North American IT market. We offer best-in-class implementation services and training in IT service management, IT asset management, and workload automation spaces, as well as IT operations management using ITIL best practice. The professional services team here at Flycast can easily scale up or down to meet your needs, regardless of your size, complexity, or budgetary restrictions. Our organization offers implementation services both on-site and remote, as well as training to reinforce your company's long-term IT success. Our ongoing remote administration support service offerings on some tools will enable your company to focus on those normal day-to-day operations, saving you both precious time and money. I encourage you to call us at 844-FLYCAST, that's 844-359-2278, or visit our website, chat with one of our folks live Monday through Friday during normal business hours. They'll be happy to chat with you. You can also reach out to us in email at info@flycastpartners.com. Definitely visit our website for upcoming webinar topics. Share them with folks in your office or things that you might want to see yourself. Take a look at some of the technologies that we offer here at Flycast Partners or some of the professional services that our organization can provide for you. So without further delay, I am going to turn this over to the man of the hour, none other than Kyle Hamilton. Kyle, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Rich. And good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name is Kyle Hamilton. I'm a sales engineer with Flycast Partners. Here to provide an overview of what Ivanti's endpoint management tool can do for you and your environment and types of problems that it can solve. I talk to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of customers a year, and routinely we hear without fail that asset management and configuration management is a huge gap for many organizations. And that's where Ivanti's endpoint management solution can come into play. First and foremost, being able to help you identify the devices that you have within your network. Now, Endpoint Manager can do that in a couple of different ways. First, and the most direct, of course, would be to connect directly to your Active Directory server, be able to incorporate all the devices that you already have within your environment, be able to pull your directory information in, not only for computer information, but also for group and user information when it comes time to deploying things like software and patches to devices. So you have easy ability to be able to tap into your current environment and leverage that Active Directory structure when it comes time to actually managing your endpoints. Now, whether you do or don't have Active Directory connected to Endpoint Manager, you still have the ability to perform a network discovery, what we call an unmanaged device discovery. And this is your ability to go out and scan your network before you start worrying about having to deploy agents and installing agents on individual devices. You want to know, how many machines do I have? How many routers are out there? How many switches? How many printers? So the unmanaged device discovery will help you uncover, create that master list of everything that's out there within your estate that you have to deal with. Now, when you're looking to manage those devices, we're talking about having agents for Endpoint Manager for all your Windows, for your Linux, for your Macs, and for your Unix devices, so that not only can you discover and collect hardware and software configuration information, but be able to actively manage those devices. Things like remote control, installing patches, managing the application stack, and even installing bare metal OS, or an operating system to bare metal. So you can create and manage all of that content with the Ivanti Endpoint Manager and be able to deploy that based on that discovery, schedule that you define. So as you go out and discover your environment, and it collects information related to devices within your network, then I can install those agents, and then based upon those agents that are installed, as I right click here within this inventory view, I may want to drill in and take a look at that hardware and software configuration. So this is what's going to enable me to drill down into the details about the BIOS, about the memory, about the operating system, about the installed applications. So I have all these details available to me now related to the user's device that I can now utilize not only here within the console, but of course, if I'm integrating this into service desk solution of choice or a CMDB, where I'm managing things like incidents and changes and problems, now I have the ability to feed and populate this information from Ivanti Endpoint Manager in there, so that you don't have to manually upkeep all this data on a regular basis, but still have access to it when it comes time to provide those service and support processes. Now, at the same time, I can look at inventory details per device. I might also want to actively manage that machine. So again, as long as I have that agent on the machine, whether it's on my network or whether they're at home or in a hotel lobby, Ivanti Endpoint Manager provides you with a cloud service appliance so that you can actively manage devices regardless of where they are. So I can initiate a remote control session to a user's machine, actively watch what they're doing, actively log on and maybe install a piece of software or make some corrective change, and do so directly to that user's device through this console, regardless of whether they happen to be in the office or whether they're sitting in a Starbucks lobby or drinking a coffee. So you don't lose control for users for any period of time. If they don't have, if you've got lots of road warriors and they have to be, roaming in the field all the time, still be able to remote control and support them regardless of where they are. Now, in addition to being able to provide the capability to collect information and remote control the devices, there's other aspects of managing that device that you can do through Ivanti's endpoint management. And that may include things like provisioning operating systems. Some users have the need to be able to deploy and create images, to deploy new versions of Windows 10, new versions of Linux that they're deploying within their environment. You have the ability within Endpoint Manager to create provisioning templates, whether you're pushing out an image to a Linux machine or to a Windows device, being able to create that sysprep or that WIM image that you can deploy so that you can strip out everything related to device drivers and anything specific to that model and vendor and anything specific to those applications, so that I can create a single operating system image that I can deploy across the environment, whether I'm dealing with Lenovo laptops or whether I'm dealing with Dell servers. And Ivanti's endpoint management provides you with the ability to create what's called a scheduled task to accomplish the things like the patch and the software installs. So if I create something, as an example, like my Windows 10 deployment, where I've created an image and I want to deploy it to a group of devices, as I'm going out and using Endpoint Manager to sweep my network and discover things on a daily basis. It reports back the devices that are connected. If I want to install or re-image a group of machines, then I can go through my inventory, whether I do so by browsing everything, or I can create what we call queries or scopes within inside of Endpoint Manager. So I may want to target a specific group of devices. All my desktops, all my laptops, all my servers, everything running Windows 10, everything that has SQL Server installed. That way I'm able to selectively group and target devices with those applications, those patches that they need. So I'm able to use these scopes to pull up the group of machines that I want. So if I do want to deploy a new Windows 10 image, for example, to all of my desktops, I can grab that desktop scope that's going to show me everything that I have in inventory. And then one fell swoop, I can grab those machines and drop them onto that Windows 10 deployment to immediately begin the process of installing that operating system and re-imaging those devices. Now, from a scheduled task perspective, the same thing may apply to many other types of fixes and changes you want to make to devices. So it may not be re-imaging the operating system, but that scheduled task may be installing a desktop application, maybe McAfee antivirus, maybe Google Chrome, maybe Firefox. Those things that users need on a daily basis to perform their jobs, I can create those tasks within Ivanti Endpoint Manager and then use this console to grab those devices from my inventory. And as I choose, as I need to deploy those applications or those patches to those devices, be able to grab them directly from inventory and simply drop them onto that application in order to install that for that end user. Now, in addition to being able to push patches and push applications, directly out to the desktop, another thing you can do is you can advertise those applications directly to the end user. So you may provide them the Ivanti portal. It gives the end user a desktop kiosk. So rather than having to push that browser out to 500 users without knowing whether they really want or need it, maybe I advertise it through the Ivanti workspace, give the user the ability to simply open it up on their desktop or wherever they're working. And if they want that application, if they need that particular piece of software and that solution, they can simply install it on demand simply by clicking on it directly from their desktop and having it install when they want it and if they need it. And this can be done with not only desktop applications, but other types of fixes, everything from clearing the user's temp drives to being able to make registry changes on that user's device, so that if you want to provide all kinds of fixes like desktop shortcuts and remapping home drives through here, in addition to software installs, then you can make all of those things available. So whenever the user needs them, they simply go to that desktop portal to access those software installs. Now, a lot of time can be spent when you're talking about creating those software installs, that need to take place on those end user devices. So you're looking here inside of Ivanti Endpoint Manager, and you're seeing everything from FileZilla to Google Chrome and Firefox and on to Office. These software packages can oftentimes take days, if not weeks and longer, to create, depending upon how specifically configured you want that application and how unique your environment is. So Ivanti also offers you the capability of utilizing a tool called Ivanti's Package Studio. So if you're looking to build software packages for things like Microsoft Office, for things like Java and Firefox and Chrome and Citrix and Zoom. Then Package Studio gives you the ability, the option to be able to connect directly to those vendors and be able to pull those software packages down, those latest updates, the newest versions, the latest packages those vendors have created, and be able to pull those automatically into Ivanti's Endpoint Manager. So rather than having to spend days, if not weeks or longer, developing those software packages to deploy, I can simply go to a setup store and download a list of all those packages that are available and be able to download those and deploy those to my users in one fell swoop through a single console. So when I'm looking at Ivanti's Endpoint Management Console, and I'm looking at things like Yahoo Messenger and 7-Zip and Adobe Acrobat and Firefox, rather than having to spend the time to go through the package creation process, which you could do with endpoint management, just involves a lot more resources and a lot more time. I have the option where I can go directly to the vendor through Package Studio and grab that Firefox package, grab that latest Microsoft package, and instead of having to spend the days or weeks or months that's required to build these software applications up myself, be able to simply go and grab those directly from the vendor and say, hey, I want to deploy Camtasia, this MSI installed to a group of users, and have that downloaded immediately. And now I've got that through direct connection from that setup studio. It imports it directly into my endpoint management solution. And now that becomes an application that if I want to install on a group of users' devices, then it appears as one of these apps where I can simply go and grab those machines and start dragging and dropping them onto that new application. So if you're a customer or company that does, manages a lot of that application stack for your end users, and as versions start to come, more and more frequent, fast and furious, that will enable you to provide an easy mechanism for you to deploy those applications to those users. Now, at the same time, you're installing everything from the operating system to the desktop applications. You want to make sure that those devices are secured. So the endpoint management patch and security module will enable you to make sure that those devices that you have within your environment that you're managing, they have the requisite patches installed. You can see the dashboard information here will give me some updates as to which patches are missing and which devices are missing, certain types of patches. But at the same time, I can also browse through the list of patches, and I can see the long list of third-party applications from 7-Zip to Yahoo Messenger that I can automatically deploy to these devices to those same scheduled tasks that we've looked at and talked about from an application perspective or from an operating system perspective. So it gives me an easy way, once I've collected that inventory through Ivanti Endpoint Manager, to be able to take those devices and be able to, number one, make sure that they have the operating system and the applications they need to do the day-to-day job, but then to set up the server in such a way so that if I'm managing those devices all the way from the desktop apps to the device drivers themselves. So if you're working with any of the vendors from Dell, Lenovo, HP, being able to not only manage the application stack for those devices, but also the driver configuration. Being able to automatically apply BIOS updates, being able to automatically apply NIC card updates and audio and video updates to those machines in the same way that you would apply an update related to security in the Windows operating system. So you can set your, particular instance up to download those drivers and that patch content on a daily basis and store those locally so that you can distribute those from your local environment to all those end users and those endpoints that you manage that need those patches and need those application fixes installed. And then not only identify where those patches come from so you can minimize and maximize your use of your WAN and LAN network, but also to make sure that those patches get installed on the correct devices and on an appropriate time frame. So you don't impact day-to-day operations, whether you want those things to happen late weekends, early mornings, being able to configure those updates on whatever schedule so that you don't impact day-to-day users activity as well as other business activity. Now, at the same time, you can manage your desktops, laptops, servers. You have the same capacity to be able to manage mobile devices. Whether you have iOS devices, whether you have Android devices, being able to deploy to those endpoints, to those devices, a set of configuration settings so that we control their behavior at the same time that we can configure what applications a desktop or a laptop should have. So I can, into the mobile world, I can create a mobile agent for those iOS devices that I want to manage and enroll them into a program so that when they install a profile on their machine and I want to control the behavior of their iPad or their iPhone, then through the agent settings, and let's just take let's take the iOS. When I want to go in and I want to create a specific configuration for somebody's iPhone or their iPad, I can go into Ivanti's endpoint management and say, let's create a configuration that's going to define what their PIN code settings are and how often their screen refreshes or freezes. How do they communicate back to the network? Which applications can they use or can they not use? Can they use their camera? Can they turn on the video? So this gives me the ability through Ivanti endpoint management to not only control the desktops and laptops, but anybody walking in with a BYOD device. Anybody that may be happen to connect to the network that's trying to consume corporate resources, and I want to make sure that they have their device properly secured. Now, on top of being able to manage endpoints from mobile to tablets to desktops to laptops, one critical aspect would be being able to capture metrics, be able to create reports, and gather critical information about the processes, whether it's installing patches or OS deployments or just inventory details. So while this information within Ivanti Endpoint Manager can easily synchronize with things like Ivanti Service Manager or other third-party tools, you need to have the ability to report directly out of here about all this inventory and all this activity. So, rich data analytics section. Now you can report directly out of here. So I may want to, as an example, run a report, and let's say we'll look at executive report, and we'll look at a memory dashboard, for example. This will allow me to run this in browser interface. Pop up here. Let's do this one. So it doesn't need you. So I can come in and run this in a browser interface and get these reports generated from any location, so I don't have to be directly on the server. Let me grab a better one, obviously that. And let's take to hardware, So you have an out-of-the-box library of roughly 150 reports that you have from the get-go. So there's very seldom are you going to have to be required to have to build a report that's not there out of the box. That's going to not provide you with the hardware software details you need. If you do, there's a simple wizard for being able to create a new report and add to that library. As I mentioned, you can also take this data and synchronize it with that CMDB of choice or that external database, asset database, so you can report on it in that tool of choice. You also have access through Ivanti's Endpoint Manager to what's referred to as extraction. And extraction provides you with the ability to create reports based not only on Ivanti's Endpoint Manager, but also the other Ivanti solutions like service management or identity management or automation server, as well as third-party tools. So extraction can not only give you a very simple tool for creating executive reports and dashboards for endpoint management. When you're talking about operating system management, patching, application installs, but also things outside of that, network monitoring and event management, alarms, the service management support processes like incident and problem and change, so that I can now have a single tool. If I look over here in my menu, they can give me the option to report on endpoint management and be able to get metrics back out of my endpoint management tool based on those dashboards that I create and I need, but also to be able to take that data and then provide that at the same time as I'm looking at endpoint management to provide service management data and to be able to provide service desk statistics related to the support of those endpoints and those desktops and laptops, so that I can kind of unify my reporting and dashboard solution right here in a simple web interface where I may be looking for data coming from Ivanti, but at the same time, I may be looking for data coming from tools outside of Ivanti. Maybe it's an Active Directory report. Maybe it's pulling data from SolarWinds and network monitoring, where that administrator, that executive wants to have kind of a global view, not only on application installs and inventory, but also being able to understand the security threats and the virtual environment that's being managed. So being able to use something like extraction to not only create reports on the endpoint solution and report on things like patching and inventory, but being able to create those global dashboards that suffice for the managers and for the executives. So if they're looking to look at things across multiple tools and get more of that global perspective, then you've got something that can easily allow them to tap into those multiple solutions and provide a simple interface where they can throw together a dashboard or report for themselves and have access to that and provide that information for them when they need it. Very easy to use, both from the Ivanti standpoint, as well as providing those third-party connectors to things like AD and McAfee antivirus or Oracle. So if you're looking to report on those external third-party apps, you have the easy ability to bring that in. Now, at the same time, when we're talking about management of all these endpoints, of course, all this information is critical to have when we talk about incident management and problem management and change management. So that's where you also have API interface that's available for endpoint. So if you're looking to take and populate all your desktops, all your laptops, all your servers, and you want to have access to all this detail within the service desk, then there are also easy connectors to be able to populate this into those service desk tools that you may be using. So you can easily take all this content that we're collecting, both via the agentless scan, the unintended scan of the network we talked about, I'm just creating that master list, as well as those devices that I've already installed that agent on, and I have some kind of management capability, over those devices. But I can take all this data and populate that into that external repository. So if you're looking to build a history and run service management reports and link these devices that you're managing here to changes and releases and projects and things that you're managing from a support and service perspective, then you have the easy ability to do so. Now with that, unless there's any other questions, or Rich, if you have any questions coming in via the online chat, please feel free to let us know. This is, I will say this is just a broad overview of the capabilities. There are, as you can see on the left-hand side, that navigator bar, many different features and functions that you can drill down into that provide some very granular capability. But I hope this has given everybody kind of a good overview as to what the broad capabilities of a tool like Ivanti's endpoint management can do to help collect the inventory and manage your endpoints, as well as help you tie this asset and item data into your support and service processes. So with that, Rich, I'll throw it back over to you if there's any questions.
No, thank you very much, Kyle. No, there are no questions at this time, and yeah, great presentation. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to present for us today. Folks, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to watch our webinar. If you do find that you have questions about today's topic, please give us a call at 844-FLYCAST. That's 844-359-2278. Email us at info@flycastpartners.com or visit us on our website and chat with one of our IT experts Monday through Friday during normal business hours. They'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and wish you all a great week, and do not work too hard. Enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend. Thank you for joining us once again.